Here's my review of Sinners. Honestly, believe the hype. I thought that this movie was incredible. And what I think is so impressive about this movie is, yes, although this is a vampire movie, there are vampires in this movie. I was just so invested in every single one of these characters that even though we don't even really get a lot of vampires until like quite a bit into the movie, I didn't really care because I just loved all of these characters in the atmosphere, in the look. And it was great. So we follow our main story here is these two brothers, Smoke and Stack, who returned to their hometown of Mississippi in the 1930s from Chicago after basically in working and doing all this stuff, working for Al Capone. They're basically in the mob and returning home, and they want to start a juke joint. And it's a very simple setup, but there's so much just layers to this story. There's so much just to unpack here. And I just found these characters so interesting that like I would happily watch a prequel movie just seeing what they were doing in Chicago. I would love to see that. And there's so much just beauty and in many ways like of just I love just the atmosphere of this small town and of this whole movie. Of a lot of it is just Smoke and Stack going to all the people, all their friends, to basically kind of like reconnect with them. And they're talking about hiring a bunch of different people because they want to open up this juke joint and have an opening party. And they need a singer, they need someone to cook the food, someone to handle drinks, all this stuff. And just this community in this small town just feels so alive. Like each character, I just loved spending time with. Like there was so much like of me just being interested in just the relationships of these brothers have, like the relationship of their brother relationship, their family relationship, and just the relationship they have with their partners. It's just fascinating. Like the relationship between Annie and Smoke here, I loved it. Like there's each character just feels like they have their own story to tell. They feel just so real. And it's just kind of hard to describe like unless you've seen the movie. Another great relationship here is between Mary and Stack. And there's so like Haley Steinfeld is so good in this movie. Like the tension here is just incredible. I'm just so invested in these relationships and really just the like this movie overall, I found to be quite like straightforward, although there is a ton of layers and depths, like metaphors and allegories, of course. But in terms of plot based, it's quite simple of it just kind of be them setting up this juke joint, them asking for help, getting people and setting it up all for one night, and us learning about this community. That's what just makes this movie so good is it's so simplistic and like but at the same time it has so much layers to it. Like whether the obvious racial allegories about, of course, the black community in America and their victimization in them basically being villainized by, in this case, vampires. It's just so fascinating and beautiful that I just couldn't just keep my eyes off it. And one of the best characters here is Sammy, and apparently this is this actor's Miles Canton, like his first role, and he is incredible. He plays the brother's cousin, and he is so good. His voice is incredible. Like this kid, he's so good in this movie. And I mean, all the performances are, but that's where this movie really shines. It's like this in many ways, because it's a musical. Each of the music just it feels like it has its own story to tell. And I think that if you go into this movie, I've seen some people, not many, but just a little bit. If you think going into this movie, think it's going to be this action horror movie, it is not that at all. There is some action, as you see, but it's mainly just this small character drama that has great action and has some horror, but it's really just the dynamic between the brothers and all these surrounding characters in just the atmosphere in this small community, in this small town, that was just so well written. each character we meet, it feels like there's a story. And that's just what I loved. I just loved these characters. And Michael B. Jordan is such a fantastic actor. Like he's able to make each of these brothers just feel like their own character, but yet feel like they are similar in many ways because they're twin brothers and they are quite similar. But just it's like you could tell, you know. And I will say there are some points where I was a little confused, but for the most part, I was able to like follow. But it's really just the characterization here that I just loved. And of course, like I said, there are vampires in this movie, with our main villain being Remick. And he's so fascinating as well. As in many ways, you hear what every great villain, I think, can prove. Not necessarily all, but a lot of great villains, you almost understand their perspective, or in ways, he doesn't even see himself as the villain. And Remick here is kind of just offering him a deal. Like this eternal life of being a vampire, almost to free them from their own like oppression. It's just so fascinating. And the actor here is just great. And there's so much metaphors here of course, in this movie, he's Irish. And they talk about, well, in Europe, well, the Irish were treated poorly. It's like, I know what it is like, even if it, at face set value may seem like he doesn't really understand their culture, but he's still able to understand what they feel, because in many ways he's gone through it himself, just differently. And that's just fascinating. Just that idea, that classic idea of villain being temptation. It's fascinating. That's what I loved about this movie. It just made me think and just be in awe. And like I said, this movie is a musical in many ways. And one thing I loved about this movie is just the musical sequences were all just so good. I loved it. It made me like just, I think I had just I was just in shock watching it. Of the sequences of them, because we're able to, they're explaining in this movie how the music can bring spirits from beyond the grave and just kind of conjure them. And just seeing all these different dance sequences and music sequences throughout different, like, from all these different cultures, mainly, of course, being, whether it's African-American culture, just from Africa, just seeing all the costume design is just gorgeous. I just loved it. It was just a movie it was just in awe. Just, I love the costume design, and just the whole musical scene was just my favorite part. And just, this movie is able to feel just so grand that I just loved it. It's so, even though this movie primarily just takes place in this small town, and a lot of times just in this barn that they're having this party in, it's just able to feel so grand and big. And because of our great characters, because Smoke and Stack are just such strong characters, because every other character is so strong, because Remy as a villain is so strong, we care about Annie, we care about Grace, and of course we care about Mary, obviously. And it's just great. And now I'm going to get into some pretty big spoilers. Eventually, yes, it is almost this harsh, like, gut punch when Annie turns into the vampire. We kind of realize it was almost like just being conned this whole time. It's just, because we care so much about these characters, and just this, I was really, even though they showed this in the trailer, I was just, like, in shock. Like, I didn't want it to happen, even though I knew it was going to happen. And like I said, the strong characters here. Sammy, of him being the father of a preacher. His father wants him to be a priest, but he wants to follow music. Just such a strong character. Like, I just loved his journey. And just the ending of this movie. The ending with Sammy, I was just kind of just blown away. I just loved it. So yeah, I may sound like I'm overhyping it here. Maybe on a rewatch I wouldn't like it as much, but as of now, this is my favorite movie of the year. I loved the atmosphere. I loved the characters. I loved the music so much. And I just loved seeing just how much nuance this film had, from racial allegory to immigration to music to beliefs. It's just so much, and it's all done so well, while also being quite creepy with the vampires and just having these great relationships. To me, I just really love this movie. This is definitely my favorite movie of the year, and definitely check it out. It is great.